Back mornings in the lab. Keith, C. Marty Fit, John Anderson. We got the second stream happening here right now. So I am going to pull this back up here and we are going to bring this up here. I see you tuning in, guys, and I got the rest of the gang showing up here. Mornings in the lab, Keith, C. Marty Fit, and John Anderson. Coming up in a few moments, Ted Merz, John Kraski. We are digging into John Kraski's story. Big influencer on LinkedIn. The guy's done a few things over on the platform there. So I'm going to do this. Wait a second here, guys. Boom. No. Boom. There we go. Okay. Hold on a second here. I got a bunch of windows open. Let's get rid of that one. Sorry for the bad audio here. Yeah. If you're tuning in here, like, what the hell is going on? Return to dashboard. No, we're going to stay there. All right, so I'm on the okay, so we're there, and we're there, and I'm gonna get out of here. All right, check. Don't know why. Check. All right. Okay, we got me on the vertical stream here. Good morning, nation. Good morning, Business Athlete Nation. You're wondering what the hell's going on? We are not brand new. Mornings in the lab. Keith, C. Marty Fit, John Anderson. Coming up, John Kraski and Ted Merz. I am just going to load up the next side of the stream here. First time doing this actually here. It was we are okay. I got myself there and I got myself there and let's see here. We got Ted coming in here. Ted's coming here in a second here. So guys, we are going to, and there is Marty coming up there on the vertical side here. And of course I got, Jimmy, how's that going, pal? Good. We're also live and everywhere. Good stuff. Awesome. We got John there and, brand new here. We're just trying stuff out, guys. Again, if you're joining this show, you're learning how to build an airplane as we fly. That's what we do here in the lab. Mornings in the lab, Keith, C. Marty Fit. And Enzo, of course, is back here in the lab with us, and I appreciate it. So, dude, you are exceptional. I'm getting a feeling that Enzo's going to be on the payroll at some point here, Marty and John. That he's going to be helping us do stuff here in the lab. That was a great first hour and a half show with John and C. Marty Fit, and look, we got Ted Merz supposed to be joining in here. Let's see here. Awesome. We are available when you're ready and rock and roll. Cool. All right. So guys, so what'd you take out of that with Brooke? What a superstar, right? The human's got her stuff together.
I just love the fact that she's leading by example.
Yeah. You know? Yes. Isn't that true, right? No, so that's the hardest thing to do for many, I think, which is like, I don't know how to lead, or I don't know if I'm going to lead by example.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got if first you got to lead yourself. When you lead yourself, people will follow. I think people tend to not understand that a leader doesn't just tell people what to do. He does the shit that people wish they could do. That's why they'll follow. And she's doing difficult stuff. Obviously, that's going to catch the attention of other people that want to do something similar and will follow her because she's paved the way of something difficult.
Yes, that's exactly. I was listening to a podcast, John, a couple of days ago with Elon, and he was talking about, and I referred to this a couple of days ago on the show, where he's not afraid to get into the factory and roll his sleeves up and do the work before he's going to ask you to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And many leaders struggle with that. It's like, no, John, do that. No, Keith, you do it first. No, I'm the boss. You should go do it. I'm like, what? Yeah. So, all right, coming up in a few moments, we got Ted Merz and John Kraski. They're having some tech difficulties, so if they're unable to join, then we will not continue, but we'll just let that play out as it goes. But let's get this, guys. So, hey, listen, I got something fun to chat about as we get into it. 5 injuries, John and Marty. 5 injuries people have actually gotten from doing the dirty deed, not the dirty deed. 5 injuries people have actually gotten from having sex, according to ER doctors.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Can you think about this, right? So actually, did you know that penises fracture.
Yeah, your shaft can actually break.
Yeah, the penis does not actually contain bones, John, but the fracture is actually the tearing of the tunica albuginea, the outer lining of the tubes that fill the blood to create an erection. He says so the doctor, Joe Whittingham, recalls a man in his early 20s when he came in with a penis fractile, this fractured penis. He said it was his first sexual experience and he broke it.
He must have been getting down.
He was excited.
He says
he was anxious.
He murdered. Doc, hey, he didn't have premature ejaculation. He just broke his penis.
That's no way to start. To break it on the first try. It's like you're a kid and you get this new toy. You're so excited. You pull out of the box. You give it one push and all the wheels fall off. Like what the hell?
He could brag to his friends though. Like I went hard on my first time. I know y'all ain't do that. Ain't no way y'all were going as hard as me on the first try. Ain't no way.
That's a flex. Any of those friends that had their first time realize he's lying.
Oh my god! He immediately heard a popping sound, followed by sharp pain, swelling, and bruising. The doctor said, "We quickly confirmed the diagnosis and scheduled him for emergency surgery." Dudes, hey doc, I just had sex for the first time and I broke my penis. Can you help me fix it? Can you imagine that? Oh, and then the Canadian healthcare system, guys. In the Canadian healthcare system, you'd sit in the ER for weeks or months because it's just our system's messed up. They're like, oh, you're not that urgent. You can hang tight. So second injury, guys. Second injury. We talked about the eel. The second common injury when people having sex, an object stuck in the rectum.
Oh, well, I guess
I've heard of that.
I guess the first thing is you're sticking something in there. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Well, here's the thing, though, that humans forget is that the body creates negative pressure, Marty. So once something gets inserted, it can get sucked in.
Well, here's the thing. There's certain orifices that are directional. And your bunghole is directional. It's out, not in.
It wasn't made for that though. Like it was made to go out. It wasn't made for stuff to go in. So you're not even going along with the law of humans.
Here's another one. This was a funny one. So I had a buddy who actually experienced this because he was an X-ray technologist, John Marty. Priapism is the medical term for an unwanted, prolonged, painful erection that lasts for hours and hours and hours beyond stimulation or occurs without any sexual stimulation. Blood can start to solidify, causing permanent damage in the penis, gentlemen, causing the inability to have future erections.
Isn't there some sort of a muscle down at the base? Once it gets filled with blood, that little muscle will clamp down and hold it in there. That little muscle freezes up.
Yes.
And next thing you know, your shaft is going gangrene.
Yes. Well, John, I'm bringing this up, man, because I know we're the older guys on the panel and we got a bunch of young guys that are exploring their journey through life. John, this one here is largely driven by medications used for erectile dysfunction, Viagra, Cialis, and so forth, where guys are taking too long of them, like taking too many pills, and they're like, "Oh, I have an erection that is lasting for days or weeks."
It's the old farmer's mentality. Oh, if a little bit works, let's take a lot.
Right?
Man.
Right.
These. Listen, a reminder: these pills are supposed to make it hard, not bigger.
Oh, is that what it is?
You're taking 15 of them ain't gonna make it bigger.
Dude, so here's another one, man. So other accidents that happen, 5 injuries you can have with yourself while having sex. John, Marty, penis captivus. Penis captivus occurs when the penis gets stuck inside the vagina during intercourse.
It sounds like dogs. Isn't that what they have? They get stuck together. Isn't that what they do? Dogs mate and you can't get them apart. They're stuck.
You know what, Johnny? It gets cold here in Manitoba. There was a January about 15 years ago. I was at my uncle's house. He's like, "Keith, check this out." There was a couple dogs. It was so cold, it looked like one was stuck on the other one.
Well, it's because they just got done humping and he couldn't get it out.
You gotta wait till summertime, buddy.
It is thought to be a very rare occurrence in humans, and most of the information we have about it is anecdotal in nature. But it's called penis captivus. Might be related to a condition called vaginismus, which is when the vagina involuntarily closes. The vagina involuntarily closes due to muscle spasms in the pelvic floor. So, gentlemen, if you're not able to have some intimate relations with your wife, maybe the door's closed. Maybe the door is just simply closed. And then number 5, guys, this is a common one. I'm thinking maybe the most common out of all of them, but it is infections caused by feces. So if you're going to have sex and have enjoyable sex using the entire body, gentlemen, you want to be clean is the goal. So those are your 5. Those are the 5 injuries, men, and I know your audience is men, 5 injuries, men, that can happen when you're out there having some good fun with your partner.
Well, the last one, I never ever thought about getting infection during some sort. I mean, granted, I guess it depends on where you're having sex in terms of which orifice you're using, but but I never thought about having an infection from sex. That's a new thought, man.
King Thunderstar coming in with yes, you know what, you're right, diabetes can cause erectile dysfunction. So you talk about eating the right foods, and actually let's go to there, right? We always talk about what's the word I'm looking for, accumulative decisions we make through life. Men, if you want to keep having sex later on in life, as you become an old guy like me and Johnny, make those little good decisions throughout life so that you don't get diabetes earlier. So you're not kind of sitting back there going, I can't have sex with my wife or my partner, right? So those little, never mind the diabetes, John. If you want to have sex with your partner, eat good today.
I mean, the thing that we got to remember, sacrifices are going to be made no matter which direction you choose to go. The question is, what is being sacrificed?
Yes.
Do you want to sacrifice eating shitty food, or do you want to sacrifice having sex? Decide what you want to make. What do you want to sacrifice?
Well, that's correct. That's correct. Hey, Ted, I see you there, pal, in the horizontal stream. Hey, Ted, if you can open up the vertical stream there as well, that would be awesome, my friend. You have 2 links there. If you can open up the second link in your other browser, that'll bring you into 2 streams for us today. Can you do that for us? Awesome. I'm going to put him back in the green room there for a moment. Ted's joining us from Principles Media, former Bloomberg guy, joining us from New York City here today. We are Mornings in the Lab, Keith C. Marty Fit, and John Anderson. We've never gone this late in the show before, guys. So we're just we're trying something new here today, and
I got to get up out of here in a second, Keith.
Marty's going to rock it out of here. So Marty, let's walk you up, pal. What do you got going on today, buddy? I know you got a lot going on. What do you got going on today?
Got my workout. Got a couple phone calls. Podcast tonight. I got my new stuff getting delivered today, so nice. I want to make sure I'm ready for it.
Nice.
So
nice.
I got a busy one today.
Marty, what's going on the podcast tonight, pal? Plug the show tonight, buddy.
So we're talking about the top 7 diseases caused by lack of working out. And we're going to talk about how working out can prevent those.
Awesome.
So it's going to be a good conversation. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. So the C Marty Fit tip, the C Marty Fit podcast on YouTube. Go find him. Great content. It's fun. It's humorous. And Business Athlete Nation, I'm going to tell you right now, my goal here next week is to get some content, throw it on the table, and have John and Marty break it down. Because there's a lot of fun stuff happening on the internet and then gyms around North America, and there's shit out there that you're like, really? So we're going to put some stuff
crazy
and have some guys enjoy it. So Marty, you're going to get out of here, pal. Why don't you have a great day, buddy? Well, I'm going to come knock on your door later today, okay, bud?
Okay, that's cool. Hey, appreciate it. Hey, good stuff today, fellas. I'll talk to you. It
was awesome. Yep. Thanks, Marty. Hey, John, we got some comments coming from the feeder. Adam, who's been with us since from the beginning of the show here, is like, hey, I liked how Brooke shared her beginnings and just put that out there. Me as a man, Adam, I appreciate you, man. Me as a man can't imagine showing any kind of vulnerability, but as soon as she said that, I imagine talking shit about being a noob. You're absolutely right, man. When you got somebody like Brooke coming to the stage, 28 years old, and she's just putting herself out there, I don't know how it can't encourage myself, 52, or John, 52, going, okay, well, she's going to do it. What the hell am I scared of? Right, John?
That's it. Let her, she's leading by example. She's charging into the difficult stuff. She's facing that fear. She's pursuing failure, and she's going to get a very, very handsome return on her investment.
I think so as well. I think so as well. Hey, Ted, I got you here on the vertical stream, but I don't have you on the horizontal stream. Can you open up that second window for us? So you're muted here too, pal. So if you you have actually in the email we sent you there's some instructions there with 2 feeds. So if you can open up 2 windows, that'll get you going into the 2 feeds here for us. And I can't hear you. Just a heads up on that one here too. So I'm just going to put you back off the screen here for a second here. So let's see if we get some more comments coming in here as well here, Johnny. Yeah, and Adam's coming back with the butt is supposedly a sucking machine. It's something like that. Hey, John, I want to go back to something you and I were talking about yesterday, and I was doing post production yesterday, and I forgot to kind of go back to this, which was on your days off, when you're just chilling, what are you doing? I know you're not just laying around. Like, are you at the desk? Are you at the office? Are you going to visit your daughters? Like, what is a relaxing day for John Anderson?
Well, here's the thing. When I say a day off, I think it's a little bit misunderstood. When I say day off, what I really mean is I'm not going to lift up any heavy shit that day.
Yes.
Because the other things, other parts of my life, they're fixtures. I don't need a vacation. I don't need time off from stuff that I want to do.
Yes.
The only reason I have to take time off from lifting heavy stuff so my body can recover, I'd love to do that every day also.
Yes.
But, so really when I say a day off, I'm just talking about day off of resistance training. Everything else is going to keep doing what it's doing. I mean, my life is not designed where I need to escape.
Yes.
My life is designed where I want to push forward into it.
But buddy, are you though, like, are you one who's, because you don't strike me as somebody who just and again, people are curious about this stuff, right? Like what our lifestyles are like, right? Like, are you just sitting back on the couch and throwing the feet up and watching football? Or you sit by the pool and just crunching a cigar some evenings? Like talk about like what's downtime for John Anderson?
Well, I would say first off, did I lose your brother? Are we frozen? Are we good? Well, I'm going to keep talking like we're good. So, I mean, obviously, when it comes down to it, the things that I do with work, in terms of, I don't even like to use the word work, my passions. I've monetized my passions. I enjoy doing it. Now, downtime with my wife, meaning we're going to focus on each other. We're going to focus on our time together. That would be considered maybe downtime. But, I love to chill and smoke a cigar, but usually when I'm doing it, I'm still going to be productive because that productivity is a piece of me. It's something I like to do. I'm more content sitting there smoking a cigar, writing copy or doing something that is helping my venture moving forward. And what my venture is all sorts of things. I do lots of different things. And so I think I think it's very different. I totally get it. But when it comes down to it, I don't kick it on the couch. I don't go to the couch. I mean, for the most part, I think that's for a lot of people, that's an escape, going somewhere where they're just trying to get away from the stuff that they have to do. And they want to unplug. They want to, I know so many people who will they'll watch movies and TV, and it's almost like some sort of an escape. So what looks like I'm the solo, I'm rocking all by myself here. It looks like Keith's down. So I guess that being said, think of it like that. Let's go a little further into this topic, guys, is when we think about how we live our lives, we got to think about what is it that are we living most of our lives with the idea that, okay, I can't wait to not do this. I can't wait to get home and do nothing. I can't wait to go on a vacation. I can't wait for the weekend. Well, if that's the case, that means you're spending too much time basically doing something that you don't want to do. The idea of, so many people will get out of college and they make a plan to do 40 years of some sort of a career, but they're also planning a retirement, which means that they get to stop doing what it is that they're planning to do for 40 years. So my thought is flip that script, turn it around. Instead of planning the retirement, how about plan doing something for 40 years that you want to do. So you're not actually having to plan a retirement, or a better way to think about it would be an escape. I mean, for me, what I do, I enjoy what I do, and I'll do it until one day I don't wake up. And another thing that's really interesting is if you're doing something that you love for money, you're never going to stop doing that. So in essence, you really don't have to worry about having some massive amount of money saved so that you can basically live in retirement and not run out of money. If what you do for money you enjoy, you're not going to want to stop doing it. So I think that whole concept of, a day off or, vacation, it's got to be, I think we've all been programmed to think about this the wrong way. We're basically programmed to go to high school, get a job or go to college, get married, have kids. And then we're 40 years old, and all of a sudden people are going, well, what happened to my life? What about all the stuff that I wanted to do? Well, we were programmed to be workers. We were programmed to basically go out and get a job. And for me, I saw past that right away, So anyway, back to the concept of what I do on my days off. Not a lot changes because I want to do what I'm doing. Keith, are you back?
I'm back here. Yeah, I had an internet outage here, so I'm just going on mobile here for a moment when my internet's rebooting back up here. We're going to be fine. And I appreciate you taking over, John, while I stepped away.
Piece of cake.
But I missed the part. I think I missed. Thank you. I missed the part while chilling out. So define to me though what chilling out is for you. Like, because I maybe missed it. Like, are you just putting feet up? Or do you watch TV at all?
That's a great question. So when I do watch TV per se, it would be some sort of learning. I don't watch TV to do nothing. I watch TV to learn, which is usually YouTube and or a podcast. But then in most cases, I'm not really watching it because I love to lay in bed as I fall asleep. I take my phone, put it on my chest, and I'm listening to something as I learn as I fall asleep. That would be my version of watching TV. So you don't really call it watching. I'm learning. If it's something that I need to watch to learn, I'll watch it. But realistically, when it comes down to it, I think the idea of chilling out, the idea of taking a break, it's the foundation of that is that there's some sort of an escape. You're trying to get away from something. When I don't want to get away from anything. If anything, I don't want to take the day off from training, but I know that I'll be better if I do. And so again, I think it's just the whole where our minds are trained to think of this off or day off or whatever it is wrong, because we're all, for the most part, most people are doing shit they don't want to do every day. So of course the day off, relax, all these terms fit perfectly into that. But it's like, I've never taken a vacation because I don't want to leave my life. When I do, for example, I'm going to be next 2 weeks, I'm going to be in my cabin in Tahoe. I still do what I do up there. I'm just in my cabin in Tahoe. I don't want to not do what I do every day. I want to do it. So I continue to do it wherever I am, no matter what I'm doing. I don't want to have a day where I say, I'm not going to do what I do. I miss what I do if I did that.
It's such a different mindset though, John, because most don't live that way.
No.
Right. Most enjoy just relaxing. So what's defined as relaxation for John Anderson?
That's a good question. I think that there's a certain level of, I think relaxing is another term. I think, there's different speeds that I might work. I might move. Does that make sense? So I might move at a slightly slower speed.
Yes.
That would be considered more relaxing. I'm still doing what I do, but I'm doing it, I'm working at what I'm doing, or I'm focused on what I'm doing with a slightly slower pace as I need to kind of recharge my batteries, if you will. But I'm not just going to say I'm not going to do all this today. I would miss it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating to me. And I see that we had a question come up here, which is intriguing to me too, which is from Adam. I would like to know when you're creating new habits. So you have had many habits the same way, and I know you got to go very shortly here, Anderson. So just a quick, just lean into this for me. But how do
Yeah.
you know when you need to create a new habit, and how do you go about creating that habit? And I'm going to go back into the room here while you're answering that. Keep going.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think for me, so really all I can do is share how I do it, and then obviously how I do it can translate to anybody who wants to take the knowledge and move forward. But when it comes down to it, if I need a new habit, generally speaking, it's because I realize that my current habits, what I'm doing right now, are not taking me in the exact direction. I look at direction. Because I know that every day I'm going to show up. I know every day I'm going to take a step forward. My habits, they pretty much predict the direction that I'm moving forward. And so if somehow I feel like I'm off course, then I know I need to alter my habits and possibly manage one or remove one or put another one in, or sometimes both. But it's a directional thing. If I find myself moving the wrong direction, because I'm going to move every day. The question is, am I moving the right direction?
Yeah. And then John, and I know you got a rock and roll, pal, so we'll let Adam have the last word before you roll out of here. But Adam says, for me, a vacation is for experiencing something new, architecture to behold something beautiful, or a 1,000-ton Buddha decked in ivory and gold to be amazed how someone could create, let alone imagine it. And it's true, John. I know you're not a man of judgment. I know you're a man of teaching, which I have a lot of respect for you. And what I've learned from you is that it's okay with being who we are, and relaxation is different to you than it's different to me. And it's okay to talk about those kinds of things, right?
100%. And one thing I think that we really have never talked about on the show is, of course, we're talking about motivating. We're talking about helping people get up and get their stuff going. But keep in mind, I have some friends like this, meaning that they are very, very content in a very, very secure, simple job where they don't have to do much. They're in their world, they've got this job with great benefits. They've got a great retirement. They go to the same spot. They don't have to do much, and that makes them happy. So if you're a person that's content with what you're doing and it makes you happy, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're all trying to find what it is that floats our boat, that makes us happy. And just because we're here talking about pushing the limits and getting uncomfortable and leaning on pursuing failure and fear, that's not always the formula for everyone. So by all means, this is more based upon, doing it your own way, entrepreneurship, pushing the limits. Not everybody fits into that box.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, John. You're absolutely right, man. And that's it. So it's find your passion, find what you're happy with, and just because you're not drinking the same Kool-Aid as myself and John doesn't mean we're any different. It's about finding what you're excited about and going after it. So, John, I know you got a rock and roll, pal. So you're gonna rock and roll out of here. You got a big day ahead of you. You got some stuff going on.
Of course, I was just loving life. But here's the cool thing: next time you see me, or all you guys see me, I'm gonna be at my cabin in Tahoe.
I'm looking forward to that, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll have to get my setup. I'll literally put it right next to the router. So there's like various to see if we could, because it's where the cabin is 6,300 feet. So it's way up there.
That's awesome. You know what I want you to do, pal? Do me a favor, send some pictures from where you're at, share them with me so we can put them on the show and show Business Athlete Nation where you're at. We can see we'll put them on the show next week because I want to see where you're at. So that'd be awesome. So are you guys leaving today or are you guys leaving tomorrow?
We're actually leaving on Sunday.
Awesome. Okay, well, safe travels. We will chat in the chat. It's a great show today, man. Really enjoyed the show, and I thoroughly enjoy you. And listen, man, this has been our third Friday together, so it's been a lot of fun, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the ride we're on together.
Right on, brother. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, pal. We'll talk to you soon. I'm going to welcome Ted Merz here into the lab. John's out, and Ted Merz is in. What's going on, Ted Merz?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Keith, I'm pretty jealous that John's going to Tahoe. So that
you both.
That's not cool. I mean, we're in New York City. It's raining. It's humid. It's hot. There's no beautiful lake nearby. So I'm a little jealous of that.
Well, I was going to say he was still there in the lobby. He just stepped out, but yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both. I met John a few weeks ago. He was on the show, and then we jumped back in. He's like, Keith, I really enjoy what you're doing, man. I'm a big fan of what you're doing. Can we do some work together? I'm like, let's do it. So the conversation started with John popping in every now and then. Ted,
Okay.
by the end of the 90 minutes, John's like, no, I think I'll be on the show every single day. I'm like, all right. So John's our new host here on Mornings in the Lab here. Is this your first experience with our show, or have you seen my stuff pop up in your LinkedIn feeds?
Well, this was John Kraski introduced us. And when he introduced us, he's like, you got to meet this guy, Keith. You got to check this out. So that's when I started looking at it.
Yeah. And your former, so what intrigued me about you, Ted, and why I was excited about having you here today is because you come from legacy old school media space.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that industry go through massive change. And old Uncle Keith here, Ted's diving right into it head first. And I have people in legacy media going, what the hell are you doing, Bilous? Like, what are you doing, man? I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. Talk about legacy media, talk about new media, and from your point of view, what's kind of shaking up in the media world these days?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that because I think, the media as defined traditionally has been getting smaller. The Washington Post, New York Times, Bloomberg, the traditional media is getting smaller. And not only is it they're getting smaller number of people and platforms, but they're behind paywalls, so their reach is even smaller.
Yes.
At the same time, you've got all these content creators like yourself and others who are putting content online. And the media doesn't think of you and other people as the media. But in my mind, it's all content, and people are producing incredible content. If you produce incredible content, people can say, okay, it's not the media because it doesn't traditionally work at one of these defined outlets. But it's very confusing because a lot of people perform the roles of a traditional reporter, journalist, and they produce content that people want to read. And I think it's something most people in the media don't understand what's happening in that regard. They don't see it, take an example, like LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a giant newsroom run by a guy named Daniel Roth. It's like a couple hundred reporters, and they are just like traditional reporters. They write stories, they write content, but I think the traditional folks at the media would not consider them part of the media, even though what they do day to day is exactly the same job. It's just not thought of that way. So it's really strange,
It is really strange. Ted, how does that change? How does that point of view change? Or is it, I hate to date you and I, or is it a generational thing? Is it going to change as the next generation of leaders, move their ways into the echelons of, maybe some of the traditional media companies to recognize that new media is no different than old media, just it's a different name on it?
It's going to be a different name. But look, I think what people don't understand is that, think about it like attention. Humans have a limited number of hours in the day that they can read, watch video, consume content.
Yes.
If you go back historically, all their time was spent either on the television networks, the ABC, NBC, CBS, or reading the New York Times, Washington Post, and so forth. So the new world that we've come into is on the video side, you've got streaming, and on the printed side, you have social media distributing via Twitter, via LinkedIn, and others, all sorts of content that's being written. And I think it's a change that's happening. And what wins out usually is quality. So if there's an individual producing content that's really good, that person's going to get attention, regardless of whether they work for a platform.
Yes.
So let me give you a great example. You're probably familiar with the content producer Marques Brownlee, who does tech reviews.
Yes.
Huge. So he has like 20 million followers, right? He's got he's on YouTube, on TikTok, so forth. He interviews and talks to Tim Cook at Apple and all the major figures, and he reviews products, and he can destroy a product or he can make a product.
Yes.
So that role used to be somebody who was at a major media company. So if we were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Marques Brownlee would still exist, but he'd work for the New York Times. He'd work for like Wirecutter, or he'd work for, Consumer Reports or something. Now he's just working for himself. But because of the quality of his content, he gets the audience. Now that audience has to come from somewhere. So it's coming from the traditional media, right? Because it's a zero-sum game. I mean, there's not more hours in the day. People's attention is migrating to content creators who produce excellent content, and he's one of them. So the interesting thing is that in the past, he would have been a reviewer at the New York Times, and he would have been considered media. Now he's on his own, so he's not considered media, but it's like he's doing the same thing he would have done. Does that make sense?
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. So what makes me curious, Ted, and I don't know if you know this, but your internet stream is perhaps not the best, right? It's we got some little bit of lag on your end here. But Ted, I'm glad you brought up Brownlee as the example. How do you scale Marques Brownlee? Does Marques Brownlee become a brand in himself, and then others uphold to that brand, where over time it the content becomes synonymous with his brand, but other reporters and other people, like how does that creator scale, Ted Merz?
Yeah. So I mean, effectively, he becomes his own media company. So the one good example of this right now is Barry Weiss, who used to be a reporter, writer, opinion person for the New York Times.
Yes.
Went out on her own. She created a Substack on her own. And now she's pulled together because she got so popular. She built her own brand, started hiring other writers to write underneath the umbrella of her company. And so that's that's usually how you scale. So he could, for example, become a whole reviewing brand. His specialty is tech, but there's a lot of other people who review, and he could bring them in under his umbrella if he wanted to, and he would become a reviewing brand, and he could extend it beyond tech to consumer goods and other things. So essentially, he becomes the same by providing the same like service as a media company. He becomes that media company, but it happens over time. At some point, if he gets really big and diversified, he'll be called a media company. You know, it's a kind of crazy situation.
Yeah. You're here Mornings in the Lab with Keith Bilous, C. Marty Fitt, and John Anderson. Keith's by himself this morning. This is Lab Chat with Keith and Ted Merz. John Kraski joining us here in a few moments. And I'm about to tell Ted Merz my business plan, because he's a legacy old school media guy. He's been around the media forever, and he's been watching media. He's been former Bloomberg guy. I think he was around Bloomberg when Bloomberg was invented. I think he might have been around during the first Bloomberg terminal. Am I correct?
No. Mike Bloomberg started the company in the early 1980s.
Yes.
It was relatively small. It would be what's today is called a startup.
Yes.
Took a few years to build the product, start marketing it. It really took off. So I joined in 1990. It was relatively a small company, and it just took off after that. Part of the reason it took off was because Mike added a component for news content, news media. So I was the 15th news reporter hired at Bloomberg. And what that did, and this is relevant to your business, is that by adding content, it made the product much more visible. And that's what we're talking about today, is how content oftentimes makes products and brands and people much more visible than they would have been otherwise. Yes.
You know, you're talking about Brownlee, and I'll share with you what I'm doing here in the lab here, Ted, is that I had a hypothesis back in March, which was, so I grew up with AM radio. I grew up with then turning the TV show on in the mornings, like Regis and Kathy and all that, those come together moments, right? But I'm also of the era where macro cultural content still brought us together at 7:00 on Thursday nights or 8:00 on Thursdays for Friends or Seinfeld, for big NBC night where we'd all revisit the conversation on Friday. My hypothesis, Ted, was time has largely become irrelevant to all of us human beings today. We live in an on-demand world. Once the day comes past 10 o'clock, time becomes irrelevant. So I asked myself this one question. Is the last macro cultural moment for us as human beings getting up every single day the mornings? I was like, if I started a morning show in the morning, because I know when I woke up, I turned the radio on. I know when the next generations woke up, they turned the TVs on. And then as time's gone on, we all open up our phones and turn the socials on. So back in the olden days, you'd go say, okay, I'm going to start a radio business or our TV business and set up a transmitter and go and broadcast it. And hopefully people show up. Well, I said to myself, if I start a morning show during the last macro cultural time all of us in North America share, which is 6 a.m. till 10 a.m., because we're all kind of getting up at the same time. I'm like, hey, if I start a morning show, Ted, will people show up? On March 11th, nobody showed up. Today, hundreds, sometimes thousands of people show up in the morning. And this platform has emerged streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X as this morning show platform because people are getting used to the habit. And all I've done, Ted, is I keep feeding the habit. And when all my old school media friends say to me, Keith, what the hell are you doing getting into the media business? I'm like, no, you're wrong. The media business isn't broken. People still want the content.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the infrastructure underneath all of it that is broken. Because I don't need a 1 million square foot building with a big transmitter on top, a big studio to do a morning show. And I think that's what's different, right? And you said it yourself, is that I'm a one-man show here. Now we got a little team here, but you know, when I put this hypothesis in place and said, okay, I'm going to create a morning show, we are essentially creating a format. And my vision here is to have a morning show in North America. We're going to take mornings in the lab to Australia, mornings in the lab to the Middle East, mornings in the lab to Europe. So you as a human being traveling around the planet, you'll wake up with this consistent brand of mornings in the lab. You follow me, Ted?
Yeah. What made you do that? What was the day you woke up and said, I'm going to do this?
The day was March 9th, and then I woke up on March 11th and started.
And what did you do on March 11th? What was the thing you did, the first broadcast? What did you talk about?
Hey, I'm here. It's the morning show. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming in. I got an airplane. I'm going to start building it and flying it in front of all of you. Hope you guys will come along for the ride. And, and then every single day I kept adding subscribers and people started showing up. And on day one, my wife showed up, my kid showed up, mom and dad showed up. But all joking aside, Ted, it came together because I said to myself, so backing it up, I had a daily show. It was live in the lab with Keith Bilous. I streamed live every single day, Monday to Friday. It was at noon. But noon is not the most opportune time for live content. So I said to myself, mornings people still come together. If I create a platform where people will come to me, the water cooler, will they come together? And they did. So the first day we talked about a bunch of different things. And admittedly, Ted, I've been figuring out as we go along, but we got a strong foundation of topics, pillars. We talk accountability. We help people get their day started. We talk motivation, inspiring, fitness, lifestyle. Content that'll help you, frankly, get your ass out of bed and get going. My job is to help you to prevent the snooze button. You're laying there, you get up your phone, you're like, fuck, I got to get going, man, because Bilous says I got to get going today. And it's working. People are showing up more every single day.
Where do you think you take this? Do you think you end up with, like, you've got guests, obviously you have guests, you have a guest every day, or how does that work?
I got guests every single day. Yeah, I got guests every day. So Ted, to me, this is no different than what you and I grew up with. Like, this is no different than
exactly.
Good Morning America. This is no different than how, like, I'm taking, I told you in my text to you, I'm taking Stern, I'm taking Snyder, I'm taking O'Brien, I'm taking Stewart, I'm taking Letterman, I'm taking all those names we grew up with, putting them into a blender and delivering it in 2024 in a new way, without all the extra overhead, right? Talking about evergreen topics that help humans move forward. That's really what it is. And most importantly, Ted, creating a water cooler of conversation. Do you follow me, right? And you ask where I'm taking this, and where I'm taking this is either it goes into a licensing type deal, or it goes into a format type deal where, you have You have Survivor America, Survivor Canada, Survivor Australia. You have Shark Tank America, Shark Tank Australia, Shark Tank UK. Well, Mornings in the Lab is a format. I have I have everything in a box where you're like, hey, Keith, I want to set up hey, Keith, I'm Ted in Australia. Yeah. I want to set up Mornings in the Lab in Australia. Okay, great. Let's go to business together. Right. So whether it becomes part of the BAPL network or whether it becomes a license deal, but the point of the matter is I've discovered a format here. In my point of view, Ted, it's a category business. This is a category design business. Do you follow me?
I do. It's interesting. Let me tell you something. I was talking to a friend, a journalist the other day, and he was saying that we were talking about people who are on air, and he was saying if he did some videos online, maybe he'd get noticed and he would get invited to be on TV. Okay. And I said, that's a really interesting concept because I think absolutely that's going to happen. If you put videos online and you look camera ready, you're going to get invited on TV. And here's a thought for you. In the old days, to get on broadcast or to get visibility, you had to kind of go through a gatekeeper. Somebody had to hire you to do that. And you couldn't get hired without experience, and you couldn't get experience without getting hired.
Yes.
And so the number of people who could be sort of famous anchor people was very small. And we thought Peter Jennings and Tom Brokaw were these godlike people.
Yes.
And it turns out now, though, like you can turn on the camera and just go. And you attract the audience. It's incredible. I mean, I do not think people fully understand how that's going to change the landscape for broadcasting, for media, for content. You just turn on it and you produce good content and you are Peter Jennings. No one has to hire you to do that. And I wonder what you think about that. I wonder if you fully, it's dramatic, right? Never in history.
Sorry, I got a message from Krasky here, just waiting for him. We've been waiting for you. Hold on. Hey, Jimmy, can you just resend the notes to John? He says John said he was in the waiting room, but myself and Ted have been here, so clearly John has got the wrong links. Jimmy, can you just resend those to Johnny? That would be great. So anyways, Ted, so I hear you, man. And you know what? I'm going to tell you something here. I'm glad you brought up Brokaw and Jennings, because when I came back into the world, so I had a social media company, sold it, did quite well for myself, and then stepped away from the world for a long time. When I came back, Ted, I said to myself, how am I going to build trust? In a world of AI generated content, in a world of AI generated talking heads, I said to myself, I grew up with trust by turning on the 6 o'clock news and leaning into Brokaw or Jennings or Blitz or Anderson. And I learned that talking head built trust. So I said to myself, if I just show up every single day on these platforms and Ted keeps seeing Keith there, it's like, holy Christ, Keith's there again. Keith's there again. Wow, he shows up. He's accountable. Wow, Keith shows up. And to me, that's how I have been building trust with my audience, by just getting in front of the audience every single day. And people are like, oh, Bilous says he's going to show up tomorrow at 7. He's there again. That to me is how you build trust today, Ted Merz.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So that was the whole idea with starting the morning show. And I say to everybody that I believe that I'm one big news event from gaining even more trust. Right. Because from my POV, if, so Marshall Mathers dies, I'm going live right away. I'm jumping live on LinkedIn, jumping live on YouTube, and we're talking about it. Right. A big news event happens, I'm going live because I want my audience to recognize that, this guy's a trustworthy guy. What he says is trustworthy. And I want to, so back to the branding, right? Yesterday we went to CNN or Fox or MSNBC. Now, like you said, you're, in the tech world, you're going to Marcus Brownlee. Well, I'm hoping that in the morning you're saying, you're Ted going, oh shit, I just saw some news. I'm going to get up and go, I'm going to go log into Bilous' show because they're talking about it right now.
So Keith, I got 2 questions for you. One, tell me how you think about platforms. You mentioned you can be on LinkedIn, you can be on X, you can be on YouTube. I guess you could be on TikTok. How do you think about those platforms now? How are they different for you? And how do you experience the audience differently?
Great question. I look at all the platforms as distribution mechanisms for me, right? So I am We got somebody here. Let's bring this guy in here. Krasky,
What's up, man? You had me sitting there.
you're muted, buddy. You're muted.
You got to get a new.
No, you're muted.
I don't think so.
I can hear him. I can hear him, Keith. So I
can't. I'm sorry. There we go. John, how are you, pal?
Good. You need a new executive producer. 20 minutes.
Hey man, good to have you here, Ted. John Kraski Ted Merz. I brought this show together because Ted did an awesome article on John Kraski on LinkedIn a few weeks back, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know the audience thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought I'd bring you guys together. Ted, you guys met in Soho House, and Ted, what prompted the article on John Kraski when you saw him and you decided?
We actually got connected on LinkedIn.
Oh,
but that's where we were. That's when he did the article, which is part of the Soho House family, which is next door. I want to get all the facts straight. It's very important, as Ted knows. I want to get all the facts straight. So, all right, go ahead.
So Keith,
yeah,
Keith, I saw John's content when he was in Dubai. And I was like, this guy makes great. He was making all these video content. And there's not a lot of video on LinkedIn. Not a lot of people sort of talking about what's going on today. It was very much like, hey, every morning, let me tell you what's going on. That was the videos. So I thought this is really great. We DM'd, we Zoomed, and then eventually John was going to be in New York. And so we met up. We met a couple of times, but we met up in at the Soho House. And so the one aspect I think it's important is what's very interesting is people meet online these days a lot. They may see you, but then there's also a drive to meet in person. And there's a personal connection. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand that if they don't spend a lot of time online, that even if you meet people online, oftentimes you will meet up and become in real life friends, and connected. I think that's important to know. So the second thing is when I met John, I had recently started doing a series on LinkedIn where I write about the people I meet. And it's kind of interesting the way it came out. It was just very organic, but I was meeting a lot of people and I was hearing all these great stories. And I was like, I want to share these stories with other people, with the world. So I started writing little vignettes about, I met John and what is John up to? What's he doing? And what's interesting about what he said? And so when we talked, the thing he's doing, John's always doing a million things, but he said something very interesting. He said he thinks of his LinkedIn content like programming television.
Yes.
And this was interesting. So because people ask me all the time, hey, you write on LinkedIn a lot. What I want to write on LinkedIn, what should I write? And in general, this is not just a LinkedIn problem. A lot of times people aren't sure what content to put on Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
Yes.
And what John was saying was, he's like, he learned from reading books about broadcasting about how you need to balance programming. So like your Thursday night, if you want to own Thursday night and you're NBC, you might have a show called Friends, and you might have The Office, and you might have Seinfeld, and you might have a series of shows, and it's the combination that makes the night great.
Yes.
And so what John was saying, and I think it's very, very simple but deceptively complex idea.
Yes.
Right? Which is that when you think about what you're writing, you effectively become what you produce, what you write. You become your content. So you want to be thoughtful about what you're putting together, but it can't be just one thing. It's kind of it's like you're programming the show, And if you think about it that way, it's a very, very helpful way to think about how you approach your identity and your brand on social media. Yeah. So John can tell me if I got that right, but that's kind of what my takeaway was, and that's what I wrote. And I'll tell you, I talked to somebody this morning, 100%. Totally unrelated, and he literally brought that episode up, and he said, "Wow, remember when you were writing about programming your LinkedIn or writing your LinkedIn like if it's a TV network?" And so that image, I guess, really resonated with some people.
John.
Yeah, he's 100%. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, because I really wanted to be a TV programmer. I got my MBA in entertainment at USC, and then that never really happened. So then when I started building out my LinkedIn, I'm going to take that same passion and energy and apply it to my LinkedIn. And it sort of worked. So
yes. Well, and I'll tell you, Ted, when I met John, I had John on my show, and I think, John, I don't want to speak for you, but I think when you and I met and started talking, you were hearing what I was having to say and some of my thoughts. I think that we recognized that we were drinking some of the same Kool-Aid, because I'm inspired by the way you program your LinkedIn content. I love the way you think about it, and frankly, I believe I think about it the same way. Because Ted, when I came to launch my morning show, I see LinkedIn like a broadcasting platform, like John does. Right. So I launched my morning show. I got my segments go throughout the day. And I'll tell you right now, not to just blow smoke up Krasky's butt, but he's made me a better creator because I see what he's doing. I'm like, all right. And we're not all about this juice stuff. It's all about just trying to create good content, entertain the audience, and keep them coming back for more. So when I saw your article, Ted, I'm like, yes, this is what more people need to be doing. And I think that I'll just speak for John. I think Keith and John are ahead of the curve a little bit, John Kraski. I do.
Yeah, I mean, but then the other part we have to figure out on the back end is the monetization models that make sense for creators.
Yes.
So that problem that is not figured out. But perhaps that's where the opportunity is. So I mean, brands right now aren't paying a lot for content from creators, but you could look at it like, well, that sucks, or you could be like, wait, that's a massive opportunity to go to all these brands and be like, you can get like really cheap advertising from all these creators. This is because that's the way the market currently exists. So you can look at it, glass half empty, glass half full. So,
but John, why do you think so many people struggle to look at the way you're doing things or the way that I'm doing things, and they look and even Ted's like, well, no, but that's the way it should be done. Why do you think still people look at you and I like we're weird?
I think still most people think LinkedIn's a job search site. So that's unfortunately it is.
Yeah,
it is. It is. It's just that's it.
Keith, you're two steps ahead, because most people think of LinkedIn as a jobs platform, and it's long since not been that. What it is a social media site where people are posting and connecting. But John's gone to the next step where it's very mindful and thoughtful about the content, and the content is programming effectively. And that's, most people are not at that point. They're not quite aware. They know they want to post. They post. Well, keep in mind, Keith, I think it's like 1% of people who are on LinkedIn, the platform, post.
Yes.
So it's like there's a billion members on LinkedIn, like 1% post. And so there's still a tremendous amount of, I guess you could say, opportunity. There's going to be a lot more content on that platform in the coming years. I think it's probably the single biggest information arbitrage place on the web at the moment. And we didn't even start to talk about like the video part, but video is going to be really big on LinkedIn too. Like right now, people aren't even writing a lot, but people are going to write more, and then they're going to do more video, more LinkedIn lives, or more just video recordings and so forth. So
there's 1.5 million videos uploaded every single minute on LinkedIn. I saw that stat drop this week, and Microsoft said that their latest earnings results that there's been 34% increase of video on the platform, and it's their number one driving piece of content on the platform since they've pushed it, right? And John has dropped some stats on the platform. Like, John, I can't get over, man. You'll invest 1 minute at a time into a video, or maybe 2 minutes, and if a brand can hear me say this, John will invest a 1 minute time of creating a video, and his return on investment of somebody's attention coming back, John, we get 66 hours of people coming back to you for 1 minute of your video created. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm creating original content. I mean, people that are retaking just like kind of like stuff that's already been repurposed from other platforms, or even I don't really want to go down that road because I just sort of have creative integrity. But I saw somebody who literally just took a video clip for Instagram, and they had like 27,000 minutes. I was like, damn, man, that's wild. But that's just not the brand I want to build. So that's even more crazy. But that just shows you how heavy the engagement is with the LinkedIn videos. So right now, I think the LinkedIn editorial team is just So I think eventually it'll just like be left to the algorithmic gods to decide, maybe decided what gets shown on their little beta feed on people's phones. So
Yes.
do you have that on yours? Do you have that? Some people still don't have it, which is interesting.
I have it, John. I get the video feed on my phone. I absolutely do. Yeah, yeah. John, and I know you got to get rocking and rolling here in a couple minutes. John, I want to ask you a question before you do, pal.
Yeah.
Do you literally see LinkedIn and all these platforms tomorrow's television networks, John Kraski? Is it as simple as that for you? Like, hold on. Like, is LinkedIn tomorrow's MSNBC?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's just not just LinkedIn. I think it's all of these. I mean, I consume Instagram like a TV network. I think.
Yeah, but I mean, all of them, right? Instagram, TikTok.
But yeah, all that. Yeah. That's how people consume entertainment now. Yeah, 100%. So that's sure TV channels. That's why if you look, Publicis just bought the influencer agency Influential for $500 million, and Publicis. They have all the big brand relationships, the McDonald's, the Pepsis, the Nikes. So those brands want, that's the way consumers are making purchasing decisions. So if that doesn't tell you where the market shifted, I don't know what will. So, and I'm congratulations. They were way ahead of the curve. They've been building for 10 years. So
that's exceptional. That's exceptional. Well, listen, let's let John Kraski go. I'm gonna keep the chat going on with Ted Merz. John,
all
thanks
right,
for
you keep it. All right. Happy Odie shout out for you and Thomas Woodhams. All right, there you go. All right, take care.
All right,
bye.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. Big fan of John Kraski. I love his content, Ted. And I know that, and I know when he was on my show, and I want to lean back into what you and I were chatting about before John jumped in here. But I see LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, because you asked me about the distribution platforms, Ted.
Yeah,
I see them as television channels of tomorrow. I just do. I think that they are. I think that MSNBC, again, just picking whatever, MSNBC is LinkedIn, Fox is X, Threads becomes CNN. You know what I mean? I'm just using analogies, but they're just places where people go. Their views are kind of a similar vein. And I've just chosen to broadcast my morning show across all the platforms.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. What is the difference between the live broadcast and a recording? So if you were doing this like a few years ago, you probably would have gone with, I record an hour and drop it, as opposed to pushing the button and streaming live.
I love that you're asking this question.
How do you think about the difference, and what's the difference from the audience point of view? Because obviously we can probably, you'll record this and it'll be available on replay, right?
Yes.
So what's the value of going live first as opposed to just doing it?
Oh man, I love this question, because this is where I really get to lean in, where I believe we are different and I'm different. And here's what I think many people. So I love magic, Ted. I'm a huge fan of magic. Okay. I'm a huge fan of illusions. Okay. Netflix is the biggest magician on the planet right now. Netflix is making us look all over there right now, while they're doing a bunch of work over here right now, which nobody's paying attention to. There was a macro cultural moment that happened 3 months ago in North America that the world participated in, but the world didn't really know what was going on. And you know what that was, Ted? It was the Tom Brady. It was the Tom Brady roast.
Okay.
And I know you as a media guy going, Bilous, what the hell are you talking about, man? The Tom Brady roast. I'm like, yeah. So let's lean into that for a moment. So the only reason that podcasts became as popular as they have become and are still popular today is because of the technical limitations of tech. We couldn't stream content 15 years ago. Steve Jobs came on stage and said, hey, you can download 17 songs into your pocket so you can take your songs with you. So we as humans were conditioned to download content, take it with us. But as 5G networks and Wi-Fi and everything else is becoming ubiquitous, more often than not, we're streaming. instead of the headache of I got to download it, I got to get it on my phone, and I got to take it with me. So what I find interesting is that back to Netflix. Next Christmas, Netflix is streaming 2 live NFL football games. For the last 3 years, Netflix has been producing live shows. They did stand-up comedies. They did Love is Blind. Every few months, they have this live show as a disguise to check out their streaming capabilities.
Okay.
The future of Netflix, Ted Merz, is live programming. The future of all streaming programming, the streaming platforms, is live programming. Because while you and I are having a live conversation right now and engaging with the world, when our conversation is done, it's available on demand. The only reason Netflix and podcasts were popular because of the limitations to get us here. We both know, Ted, society is cyclical. It's not linear, right? We are going back to a world from my POV because we both know the most money advertisers make is on live content. The last available live content available is sports until the streaming platforms figure out how to effectively stream live content again, when we're going to wake up one day with a morning show on Netflix, a morning show on Amazon, a news show on these different platforms, because we're just going to go back and revisit everything. So I believe in live conversations. That's what people want. People want to connect when they get up in the morning. So the long answer to your question is, this is on demand anyways. I do not know why people, Ted, sit down and do a recording when you can do it live, have an engaged audience.
Yeah.
Netflix and Apple, go record, and make it on demand. No, just do it live and then make it on demand. So there's my answer for you, pal.
So the part I push back a little bit is I think we've also seen a cultural shift.
Yes.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. Because TV could be live, and TV was live in the beginning.
Yes.
TV was live.
Yes.
So what happened was that sometimes there were gaffes or inappropriate things or problematic things said, swear words, cuss words, whatever. And they realized, we should produce it and then post it. Even if it's not, and so they went from live to like a little bit of a delay.
Yes.
And they're like, we're just going to produce this to make it perfect. We're going to make the perfect burger for you.
Yes.
So what's culturally happened is that there's been a shift in consumer taste away from perfection in favor of, like, let's say, the authentic, towards, I want to get it however it is. And, we've become more, as a society, okay with cuss words or nudity or various things. And so, we'll just take it live. And so I do think there's a cultural element here where there was either liability legally or socially for producing things that had errors. And people now are okay with, I know things are produced. I just want to see the true thing done.
Yes.
And so I think there's that is an element. And I agree with you with where we're going, and it makes sense to be both live and on demand. But for lots of reasons in our society, we wanted things controlled. There was a lot of control. We wanted, so the Tom Brady roast, as you know, there was a few things that happened in that roast that blew up on social, right?
Yes.
So had that been produced show, those things would have been cut out.
And it would not have created those macro cultural events the next day.
That's true. But different people have different views on that. Some people,
sure,
the traditionalists, let's say, would have said we should have taped that, cut out the problematic things. There's it's interesting, right? And then the more modern view is, I think, no, we want to see it live. And I do agree with you that's exciting. Certainly, it's exciting with sports.
Yes. Well, and you look at some, Adam's tuning in right now. We love to interact, and Adam's right, man. And that's one thing with back to my hypothesis, Ted. I said to myself, if I put a morning show on in the mornings, will people show up? First day, nobody did because they couldn't find me. But then once they started showing up and I started interacting with him, and Adam's like, plus you're able to reach people that wouldn't usually search you out. It's like having a conversation. And then as Gollum said, give it to me raw, no wriggling. You know, I'm learning that people want to be part of the conversation, Ted. They want to have a conversation. They want to be a part of it. It's human nature. And I believe that we're giving it to them live. And then as a result of that, it's on demand later as well. But that raw live experience, I think, is what humans are craving. And Ted, in a world of AI generated content and in a world of AI generated doubt, you can always sign up to see Bilous. He's live. He makes mistakes. He's building the airplane on the fly. And as a result of that, I think, Ted, you trust me. Because here's what I think happens. After we experience our show together, you're going to leave. Yeah. You're gonna go, I kind of like that experience with Keith. I'm going to go check him out next week. And then you're probably going to check him out again. I'm hoping anyways. And then you're like, yeah, this guy, I'm kind of building trust with this guy. I like the content that he's creating. He's showing up every single day. A year from now, you're going to log in. Holy smokes, the guy is still there. Right. And to me,
what time does your show start?
8 o'clock Eastern time.
8. And where are you right now? Where are you physically?
I'm in Winnipeg, Canada. I'm on Central Time. It's 9:44 Central Time.
Okay. So at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, you go on the air. How long does the show go?
Yeah. So our show originally was an hour, but it's been so now I got a third co-host and I got a bunch of people coming in on the comments. Our show is now stretching into 90 to 120 minutes. Eventually, I see it going to become a 4-hour show.
Right.
So the goal here, Ted, is that Mornings in the Lab in North America will run from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. So whether you're East Coast, West Coast, you will have the opportunity to be part of the morning show here in North America.
That's fantastic. You know, there's no reason why you just don't keep it running and people come in and guest host and it just goes 24 hours. You become CNN, you know?
Ted, I've done that. CNN. No. So Ted, so don't tell my secrets. Stop.
And then you're going to have, but Keith, then you're going to have to change the name. You can't, well, I guess you're going to tell me it's morning somewhere. It's always morning somewhere.
No, but
Ted, you go to 24 hours.
All right, so Ted Merz is wrecking Keith's business plan live on the air. He's displaying all the secrets to the world. Yes. No, but Ted, you're right, man. I'm envisioning this as CNN, Ted Turner. I'm going to do it right now. I'll make the declaration on the air. Mornings in the Lab will become a 24-hour channel on LinkedIn. You've heard it here. Stay close to me, pal.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
I'm not going anywhere.
It just rolls, right? It just keeps going.
Exactly, because I have a dad show, and you're right. So I've done some tests. So I've actually ran a 24-hour stream because I create so much content, Ted. I've done some tests where I take all my 1-hour streams, bundle them together. I ran a 24-hour stream on Threads on X for a week, dude. My viewers and my interaction, and I've just been testing. It was incredible. Yeah. It was 24/7 of Keith Bilous talking to people from around the planet. And here's what strikes me, right? And here's what really strikes me. Again, I go back to the business, right? So what is Bloomberg Television? It's a business talking head talking to another talking head in a studio with a bunch of overhead, and they're not making any money. Well, hold on a second. Right now, there's Keith Bilous, talking head, talking to Ted Merz, business talking head, and no, I'm not making any money, but it's the same content.
Yeah.
Like, what prevents me from bringing on the CEO of Unilever and having a conversation for a business segment with Keith Bilous in the morning? Nothing. It's the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you answered your own question before. You asked me, how do people scale? And they scale essentially under what you're telling me.
Yes.
At 11 o'clock, you go off the air, and John Smith, who you hired, comes on the air, and he's you for 3 hours.
No, Ted Merz. Ted Merz is going to join the show here. Yeah.
They pass the baton, and John Kraski comes on for 3 hours.
Exactly.
And they basically run the show in segments, and then those segments become things like I do business, and John does entertainment, and then the show. It's incredible, right? It's organically become.
Yes.
Keith in the morning is sort of like the Today Show, right? And then there's the business segment, the cultural
Yes.
segment, the sports
Yes.
segment, the news, and boom,
Yes.
boom, boom. And as you
Yeah.
said, next thing you know, you're on live for 24 hours.
Yep.
Wow.
There's Ted Merz displaying Keith's business plan to the world right now on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Ted. And you know what, Ted? And what I've become really good at, and again, I'll keep sharing secrets with you, is using all these great AI tools. I'm able to create content ubiquitously that goes out on demand. So if you look on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn, because I'm creating so much content, Ted, every single day, I got sound bites galore. So there's a constant stream of ubiquity happening.
Yeah.
And here's where all the legacy media companies just still haven't figured it out. Right. So you don't have to, here's what you don't have to be. I don't believe you need you may not need a live 24-hour channel. You need the live in the morning with live segments and ubiquitous content through the rest of the day to get everybody back in the morning. Because news and content travels so fast today. By the time noon comes Central Time, Ted, I'm already thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, and then my vision is, Ted, is that, you're so comfortable with the Mornings in the Lab brand here in North America. You get on an airplane, you land in Australia, you're there for business, and you're like, oh, there's the Mornings in the Lab brand here as well. So you can probably lean into a little bit of the Peloton experience. I know Peloton's in your backyard there in New York, but Peloton said, hey, we got evergreen content. We're going to do a lot. We're going to do live stuff, and we're going to be all over the place. Let's put their business model aside. But that whole idea of evergreen content and displaying it and getting engaging with your audience, we're doing the same thing here in the lab as well. So
When was the first time you did any kind of broadcasting like this? When did that start?
Not even a year ago. Actually, yeah, it was. So I did live. I'll tell you a funny story. So thank you for the questions, because often I'm doing the one asking the questions, right? So last August, about a year ago or so ago, I was about to come back into the world, and my colleague says to me, Keith, you got to do a podcast. And it's like, Ted, I'm like, no, I'm not doing a podcast. I'm like, podcasts happen every now and then. They're being done in somebody's closet. They're irregular. I'm like, no, I don't want to do a podcast. And on the moment, Ted, I looked into the camera at my colleague sitting across, and I said, no, we're going to do a live show. We're going to go Monday to Friday at noon Central Time live. And he looks at me like, what the hell? Why live and why 1 o'clock Eastern Time? And I said, well, we're going to go live because I want to do a show. I don't want to do a podcast. I want to do Letterman, Leno. I want humans to associate A, Keith with a time slot, B, accountability showing up every single day. But truthfully, Ted, I said to myself, if I get in front of the camera and the microphone and tell Ted Merz that I'm going to be here tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I better well be here at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So it was as much an accountability thing for myself. So a year ago, I sat down in front of the camera and the microphone and started my show. So I've only been broadcasting for about a year. Yeah, every day, Ted, every single day. Why are you laughing at me or with me? Or are you laughing on behalf of my family right now?
Wait, so you had not done any broadcasting 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
No.
That's wild. That's really wild, right?
But I'm going to share with you my secret, though, pal. So I started a social media company in the early 2000s. Okay.
Yeah.
I sold it in 2011 for $50 million. I had a nice exit. But Ted, it was a completely remote and distributed company before the pandemic. So here's what I want you to lean into with what I'm going to say next. I had to learn how to coach, inspire, motivate, and get all of my stakeholders across the camera around the world. I had 500 people working around the planet for me. I had clients like Coca-Cola, Unilever, every big brand in the planet was underneath my umbrella. I had to learn how to get in front of the camera and the microphone and convey confidence, get you to drink my Kool-Aid, get you to move to the next quarter, inspire you, motivate you. So I learned during that time, Ted, how to engage with the camera, how to communicate, how to have a pause, how to have you hang on to a word. And I learned during that that when I became this talk show host, that I was actually pretty good at it because of what I learned of my skills of being a leader and leading people remotely. Does that make sense to you, Ted?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you've had, I mean, clearly some experience with that, but it is wild, nevertheless, wild that you can start basically the beginnings of a broadcast network. You just turn on the camera, you start publishing, you post every day.
Yeah.
The show keeps getting longer and longer. It's amazing.
Well, that's exactly. Thank you, Ted. Thank you. Because you're right. I just sat down, started, and this is what's happening. And those that are paying attention, and Adam, thank you, pal. Adam, who's tuning in right now, who's a subscriber. Adam, baptism by fire. You got it, pal. You're absolutely right. I just started, and anybody who's paying attention right now, and I'm hoping you, and I know you are, Ted. Now, anybody who's paying attention. So I just turned 52 this year. I'm not going anywhere. So over the next 15 years, Ted Merz, you're going to watch this turn into a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week global media platform anchored by Mornings in the Lab. It's happening right in front of your eyes. And there's a lot of people it's happening right in front of that they don't even see it. And I'll tell you right now, Ted, a lot of people don't believe me. And you know what I love? I'm going to swear right now. I love that fucking nobody believes me. I love that people are like, this guy's not going to fucking do it. Oh yeah? Watch me. Because, and here's the other thing, Ted, sorry, here's the other thing too, right? Is that, I don't know, so I think we're probably around the same age. I have all these 25, 28-year-old kids coming to me, right? They're all coming to me like, oh my God, your content's so original and new. I'm like, no, I just been reading from the Howard Stern Bible, from the Tom Snyder Bible, from the Jon Stewart Bible. I've just been reading from the Bibles of the content that I grew up with over the years. And now I'm displaying it to you guys today. And no, I'm not going to dip into some of the content that Howard Stern had back in the early 80s. But I still think that we can get content on the air that is not too woke, that is not too safe, that can make people fun and make them feel belonging. You follow me, Ted?
Yeah, it's interesting that Howard Stern, like he got a lot of followers for being the shock jock and for being outrageous and flamboyant and whatever.
Yes.
But like he's actually a better interviewer now than he was. He's quite good now.
Yes.
The side, when he, and it's interesting. A lot of the interviews he does with people now get posted in short clips on Reels and TikTok and Instagram, and they're really good. And like I don't know if there's a lesson for all of us there, but he wouldn't have been he wasn't as good when he started. He was more controversial, he was more flamboyant, but but he's better now. He's a good interviewer. So yeah.
Well, and I've learned how to, and my aspiration, Ted, is to have places like this. Like my goal is to create a safe space for you to say, you know what, I enjoyed that conversation with Keith. I got something I want to talk about and I want to come on the show with him. And I'll share something with you, actually. I had a guy on my show a few months back. Do you remember about 6 or 7 years ago, there were some CEOs of Citgo who were kidnapped in Venezuela, some American executives. I had one of the guys on my show here, and he was one of the kidnapped executives, and we sat down and had a conversation, Jose, and he sat down with Anderson Cooper. He sat down with a bunch of traditional broadcasters. I gotta say, I'm proud to say this. He reached out to me a few weeks back and said, "Hey, my wife has never told her story. My wife has never had a chance to tell her story, what it was like with me being kidnapped and being in another country. And would you be willing to sit down with my wife, because I was really comfortable with you, to have her tell her story?" And I was really flattered by that, because I got other people reaching out to me, Ted, saying, "I've enjoyed your show. I enjoyed the safe space you're creating for me. I would love to be on your show to share my story." That's what I aspire to have here, Ted, after the morning show, right? Is a sit down, long chat where you're like, you know what? I got something I want to share. And I know the guy's going to not throw me under the bus. I know he's going to make me feel safe. I know he doesn't have an agenda. So I'm going to go sit down and talk to Keith Bilous.
That's pretty exciting. That's exciting.
It is. And it's very humbling for me too, right? So it's very humbling for me. So, but Ted, listen, man, I've had you here for almost an hour. I'm really grateful for your time. Can we do this again? Can we do a one-on-one together? I'd love to learn more about your history, the Bloomberg stuff, and maybe there's some collaboration efforts here. And Ted Merz, Maybe you're like, hey, maybe I can go host a segment of Bilous' show in the middle of the afternoon.
I would love to come back, Keith, anytime.
Awesome.
Right.
And Adam, I appreciate you, man. Now you guys got way too much energy for that to stick. Yes, no, we're not the geriatrics, Adam. We're having too much fun here. So, Ted, I appreciate you, man. I'm going to walk. So I'll have you back here again, and I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, okay?
Take care. Bye.
All right, take care, Ted. Cheers. All right, Ted's leaving us out of the show here. Hey, guess what? You just got Uncle Keith here back here on the show here. Mornings in the Lab. Keith, John Anderson, C. Marty Fit, and holy smokes, I am here by myself right now. I'm going to put some tunes on for my ears. There we go. Hey, did you guys have fun today? I did. Holy smokes. Enzo, are you still there? Enzo, you there? Adam, you still there? Whoa. Enzo, 3 hours today, man. 3 hours of live conversation. Mornings in the Lab. Jimmy, I appreciate you. Melissa, I appreciate you. Tina, you tuning in? I appreciate you as well. I appreciate everybody who helped me this morning pull this thing together. Adam, you're still there. Good to see you, pal. Listen, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, if you're tuning in, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Mornings in the Lab. We drop a morning show right here where you're tuning in. 8 o'clock Eastern time. I see you guys in the channel right now. I'm not leaving you. If you guys are all tuning in right now, I'm not going to leave you. If the numbers keep going up, I'm going to stick around. Yeah. What else we got here? Good time. Thank you. Good show. It was a great show. I salute you too, my friend. I salute you too. So let me be frank here. I can't keep doing this if you all don't keep showing up. So if you guys keep showing up, I'm going to keep producing content for you guys. We produce content to help you guys get the day going, to help you get your ass out of bed, to help you get moving in the morning. We drop 8 o'clock Eastern time, like I said. X, YouTube, LinkedIn. Subscribe to the channel. Offer comments, offer commentary. Love feedback. You want to be a guest on the show? Come knock on my door. You can find me on LinkedIn, Keith Bilous. Come find me on Instagram, Keith Bilous. Come find Mornings in the Lab all over the planet. We started the show at 7 a.m. this morning. Hey, don't leave. I just saw you leave. I saw the number go down. We started the show this morning at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. We dug into New Beginnings with Brooke Swidar. Brooke is a boot camp graduate over on LinkedIn who decided to make a big pivot. And the pivot was, oh, that ain't working anymore. I'm going to go get a new career. So she did. She dug in, and we announced that this morning at the top of the hour. We dug in what was it like to make those choices. And we also dug into what happens if you don't want to make that choice of pivoting to a new career. Maybe just staying in your current job is okay. And that's what we also talked about. We got Simo joining in. Hello, what's this show about? This show is about helping you get your day started. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and C. Marty Fit and John Anderson. We drop here, Simo, every single day at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I invite you to subscribe. Subscribe to Mornings in the Lab. If you do that, give me a thumbs up. That'd be awesome. Subscribe to Mornings in the Lab. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Tell me what you like about the show. Tell me what you don't like about the show. We also got into conversation this morning about 5 common things that happen when you might be having intimate relations, I call it sex, with your partner. So what could, Simo, where are you joining us from today? It's night for you, it's morning for me. Where are you joining us from today, Simo? Truthfully Nation, I got to get out of here. I got to hit the gym. And I got to hit the restroom, man. I got all my fluid in me, and I got to go and, yes, good time. Hit that like and subscribe. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Good time. Hey, Good Time, where are you joining us from today, Good Time? I don't know where you are, Good Time. Tell me where you're joining us from, Good Time. I'd like to know where you're joining us from. And Simo is joining us from Japan. That's awesome. Thank you, Japan. Simo, please go subscribe and like the channel. Tell your friends to come join us here. Simo, what time is it over there in Japan? I'm really curious about that. Let's see here. We got, no, that's okay over there as well. And then, of course, we ended the show with John Kraski. John joined us here at the bottom of the hour with Ted Merz. Ted is a LinkedIn guy, Bloomberg guy. Joins us from Bloomberg. And so we got Adam way out in the Pacific. Yes, no, Adam, where are you joining us from today, man? I don't know where you're joining us from. I'd love to know where you're joining us from today. So what do you guys got going on? Oh, there we go. We got Good Time joining us from Connecticut. Awesome. I love Connecticut. I was down there a couple years back with my son and down there playing some hockey. Connecticut's a great part of the country. All right, so listen, I think I got nothing else left to say. Dude, 3 hours of live content. Jimmy, can you believe it? Jimmy, can you believe we did this for 3 hours today? Oh my God. I think John's off for his workout. Marty's off for his workout. And Uncle Keith's got to run on over to the restroom here. So I think we're going to say goodbye. We're going to get out of here and get on with the rest of our day. Mornings in the lab, Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here. LinkedIn, X, YouTube. That's where you will find us to get over there. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you guys Monday morning, 8 o'clock. Ciao. Adam, New Zealand. Awesome. Don Trump from Florida. Good times. Seth Kuhn, you're still here. Good to see you, man. This guy's got to go to the restroom. I'm doing the dance in my chair. And if you're a guy, you know what I'm doing right now. I'm dancing. I got to go, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Ciao.